What's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing, and we back at it with another boxing video. The morning after Wilder versus Fury 2 rematch, the aftermath. A day of reckoning, a day that, Deontay Wilder ain't never gonna forget. Tyson Fury definitely won't forget, but Tyson Fury definitely said that, November 2015 when he went to Dusseldorf, Germany, was more was a moment he held more dear to his heart than winning versus Wilder. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Wilder just didn't handle his business out there. Um, no excuses for the guy. You know what I'm saying? The man tried to go out on his shield. His corner, Mark Breland, thought as in between the rounds you know that he made the decision that he's going to let his fighter live another day rather than get severe damage because there is a rematch. And I'm pretty sure that was what was on Mark Breland's mind. Let his live to fight another day. But Deontay Wilder, a lot of things went wrong in that fight. There was a point in time when he was getting tagged with every single punch. This was definitely after the proliferated eardrum, getting caught with every single punch in the book. You know what I mean? His defense was putrid, if I may use that word. It just wasn't conducive to winning a heavyweight title fight. You know what I mean? He had his hands down, not, you know, like his hands were like below his, definitely they weren't up high to his head. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about when he squared up with the man, Tyson Fury. You know, going back to the ropes every single time. Putting himself with his back against the wall in the corners on the ropes. That didn't help him. And the ring generalship was dictated by the Gypsy King, the man who's been doing this boxing stuff since he was a kid. You know what I mean? He controlled the ring generalship. How many times did we see Deontay Wilder try to square up and stand in the center of the ring and hold his ground and, rely on his skill set, whether it's the jab, double jab, triple jab. He didn't really have that type of that type of offense to even have the man Tyson Fury going backwards. Tyson Fury was the guy coming forward, the pressure fighter, and he just, he's the one who applied the pressure on Deontay Wilder, used his weight and size advantage, you know what I mean? Crunk gym style. I'm sure they looked at a lot of Vladimir Klitschko stuff as far as using your weight and leaning on the guy, tiring a guy out. And that's what exactly he did. Got to give Sugar Hill Stewart big props, you know what I mean? Big props, This guy is now a trainer of two lineal champions. WBC lineal heavyweight champion and light heavyweight champion, who he had a long run with Adonis Stevenson. You know what I mean? Now he has Tyson Fury. Got to give him props. Got to give the man Andy Lee props. You know what I mean? Of course, Andy Lee's gonna back his cousin. He did say he's gonna knock Wilder out in 2 rounds. That didn't happen. But Andy Lee was pretty confident about what his cousin Tyson Fury is going to bring to the fight game as far as the Wilder fight, and they executed a tremendous plan. You know what I mean? Anybody who knows B Marsh Boxing knows that I've always been a fan of Tyson Fury. Always, you know. I give him credit for opening up the floodgates and letting these other heavyweights eat from November 2015 when he dethroned Klitschko. That was one of the best moments for me in boxing, watching boxing all my life. The fight wasn't aesthetically pleasing to the eye or a crowd favorite type of fight or, cult classic, you know what I'm saying, that we're going to go back and watch numerous times. But it is Tyson Fury who opened up the floodgates and, dethroned Klitschko and set the tone for the new heavyweight class that we do have right now in this era with the Wilders, the Furies, the Parkers, Ruiz, etc., etc. You know what I mean? But anybody who knows me as well, I'm sorry, January, when Wilder knocked out Spilka and Tyson Fury came into the ring and said, "There's only one Tyson Fury." At them times, I didn't think Deontay Wilder could beat Tyson Fury. I considered him the best. He had just beat the best fighter, best heavyweight on the planet who had a stranglehold on the division for 10 years. So, with Wilder, ascending in the boxing game, undefeated, still knocking out fighters and, you know, fighting, trying to fight the best competition, fighting Tyson Fury the first time. Everybody picked Wilder to win that fight, and for the most part, everybody picked Wilder to win the rematch. So that's just a testament to, regardless what people think about Wilder, whether they like him or not, or whether they believe he can box or not, people do believe in his power. Regardless what people say, oh, he ain't knocked out no elites, or you can't compare him to what's the guy's name? The other guy from Alabama. What's that guy, man? Muhammad Ali fought. Ernie Shavers, you know what I mean? Oh, you can't compare Wilder's power to Ernie Shavers, who he knocked out. Regardless of what people say, deep down inside they know that Wilder's a devastating puncher. And even the biggest Wilder haters had Deontay Wilder gonna win this fight, but via knockout. You know what I'm saying? The fight definitely wasn't an upset. Just like Tyson Fury said, he was a 7-1 underdog when he went to Dusseldorf, Germany, to win the fight versus Klitschko. With Deontay Wilder, it was more of damn near 50-50. You know what I mean? I think you had to put $100 on the Fury, and if he won, you win back 135 plus your 100. And for Wilder, you had to put up $115 to make $100. You know what I mean? So the odds were pretty close. You know what I'm saying? The odds were very close. So it wasn't an upset to the biggest upset we've seen in boxing. You know what I mean? As a guy, my favorite style of boxer is a boxer puncher. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I'm a guy I score for defense. I love defensive minded fighters. I love fighters who can box on the back foot. A guy who could outbox you, and then at the end of the day, do to you like what Pernell Whitaker did to Diabolis Hurtado. Although Pernell was losing the fight, but at the end of the day, he's a guy who could outbox you. And Pernell ain't the biggest puncher in the world, but that's exactly what he did at the end of that fight. Stopped and knocked out Diabolis Hurtado. Tommy Hearns, one of the best offensive fighters the boxing game has ever seen, as far as his offensive skill set. Guy could box you from range, crunk gym style, keep you at the end of the jab, and then when he connects with that right hand straight down the pipe, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? Beautiful boxer, and at the end of the day, he's gonna knock you out. So I do always, almost always, pick the pure boxer to beat the slugger, the puncher, the brawler. You know what I mean? But Tyson Fury, man, he shocked the world as far as him keeping it, saying he's gonna come in there and knock out Deontay Wilder, and that's exactly what he did. He went for the KO. You know what I mean? What's up, Dead Game Boxing in the chat? What's happening, big man? He's in the chat. He says facts. He said that game boxing says after Tyson tasted Wilder's blood, literally it was over. Absolutely, man. I mean, he smelled blood. He was like a shark in deep waters, or maybe even shallow waters, trying to come up to the where people at. He smelled blood. And when he seen how he busted up Wilder's mouth, he was leaking from the mouth. His mouth was swollen, perforated eardrum. Man smelled blood, man. And like you said, man, it was over, man. The man didn't have his balance. That wide stance of Wilder where he has to generate power off the back leg, it wasn't going to work versus a guy like Tyson Fury who was on his A game. You know what I mean? Man was on his A game, There was rounds where Deontay Wilder didn't even touch the man Fury, really and truly. You know what I mean? This was after he had got the first knockdown. You know what I'm saying? His balance was off, and he just didn't have what it takes to throw back punches. And it goes back to fundamentals, you know what I mean? The fundamentals of boxing were thrown out the window when Wilder was in danger. Blue collar sports, what the deal, Del Boy? Del Boy in the chat, what's happening, big man? Salute to Del Boy. Del Boy says Wilder needs some time out. I picked Wilder to win, but it wasn't his night. Fury and AJ need to get it on. Wilder needs a break and then come back and fight Kawanaki, who is highly ranked in the IBF. True indeed. When I made my video last night, man, I was the trainer thought that the man Wilder should take the immediate rematch, and after sleeping on it and waking up, what I mean, I do agree with you on the fact that Wilder might need to have a tune-up fight in between. You know what I'm saying? But I think his pride might come in the way, and he might want to try to get his straps back. Man was a champion for 5 years. It's hard to let go of that Sophia. He ain't called it Sophia in a long time. You know what I mean? I think Deontay Wilder might have deviated from the man who he used to be, especially with the elaborate, the costumes he comes to the ring with. No question, the man is making millions of dollars 25 times over, you know what I mean, with this fight. And so did Tyson Fury, 50-50 split. Give props to both guys. And I do like how the man Tyson Fury gave the man Deontay Wilder props. He's not there trying to, brag about his victory. You know what I'm saying? He knew he's the better fighter as far as the skill set. And said Deontay Wilder will become a world champion again one day. Time will tell. You know what I'm saying? Time will tell if that will happen. But, he gave him props for, taking the fight. You know what I'm saying? And giving him an opportunity. The man, they asked Tyson Fury, you guys, you broke big records as far as the Live Gate all-time heavyweight record, you know what I mean? Which is a tremendous feat. And Tyson Fury, first thing he said, man, I didn't do it by myself. I had a tremendous dance partner, and, we made this happen together. And that's what boxing's all about, you know what I mean? I never really thought these two guys hated each other or despised each other. You know what I'm saying? These are guys who've known each other from Emmanuel Stewart was bringing them out to Germany or Austria, training for fights, you know what I mean? And bringing these guys in as sparring partners. So there was no disdain against each other or, straight hateful malice, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they both had to hurt each other to win. And Tyson Fury brought the pain, man. Tremendous effort he put up. What's up, Hop? Hop's in the chat. What's going on, man? He says, good morning, B. Marsh. Always like your reflections. Thank you, man. Salute, man. We got to sleep on a fight, especially a big fight, you know what I'm saying? Just like with that one video I made back in the day for Javid Hurd. When I made the video, you don't have to like Javid Hurd, but damn it, you must respect him. A lot of people, a lot of people were never high on Javid Hurd, you know what I'm saying? But when he was doing big things in boxing and, silencing the critics every single time, up until the J-Rock fight, that was his only mishap in his career, you know what I mean? A lot of people just still were in denial. That's why I had to make that video. A lot of people might be in denial about Deontay Wilder till this day. You know what I'm saying? As a man, I got to appreciate Wilder over the years, but I was a guy, I know boxing, and I know when a guy is lacking in certain areas, especially if you're a guy who started boxing late, you know what I mean? And I've always rated Tyson Fury, you know what I'm saying, as far as the best pure boxer in the game, a guy who I thought can beat anybody. But Deontay Wilder made us really believe in his power. And there would be a day when he doesn't get to knock out an opponent. The first round, he caught the man Fury's flush right hands. Boom, right on the kisser, you know what I mean? Tyson Fury ain't go nowhere. You check it, he ain't go nowhere. But back to what Del Boy was saying when he was talking about Fury and AJ need to get it on. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that, man. But you already know, man. The man Anthony Joshua is a guy who's into his mandatories. You know, when he did unify titles, it was against guys. Excuse me, it was against guys. Who was it? What he has? WBA. That was against Klitschko for the vacant title, the fight that kind of put Joshua on the map. You know, and that was a Klitschko who had been out the ring well over a year. You know what I'm saying? November 2015, I believe that fight with Joshua happened sometime in the spring of 2017. So he was out the ring for well over 12 months, maybe about 15 months. Okay, and a great fight, Vladimir Klitschko. It was a great fight. Not as far as the magnitude, global magnitude of the world watching. It wasn't as big as this Wilder and Fury fight. You know what I mean? Because really and truly, this Wilder and Fury fight, it was actually the biggest fight we've had in here in the United States since Mayweather Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? As far as everybody talking about it, I'm trying to tell you, man. I was coming back around my way. Some kids ran up on me. They don't know I'm into boxing. I have a YouTube channel or anything. They asked me, "Who do you got winning tonight? Deontay Wilder or Fury?" I told them I got Wilder. They was like, "Yeah." And these weren't just black kids. These were black, Hispanic kids, mostly Hispanic kids. You know what I'm saying? And I was surprised that they even knew about the fight. I asked them, "Are you gonna watch it?" They said, "I don't know. I don't know if my parents gonna order it." I said, "Man, go try watch it on the internet." You know what I mean? And I let them be. But there was a big buzz about the fight everywhere I went yesterday. And yesterday I was up and about. I'd left the crib at about midday, and I didn't get back home till like about 5 on a Saturday. And almost everywhere I went, people were talking about the fight. You know what I mean? When I caught a bunch of people having conversations. Everybody was on this Wilder and Fury fight, so the fight was of big magnitude, and maybe that's the kind of pressure that Deontay Wilder might the pressure might have been too big for him. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? He had a lot. He had a whole lot. He had a lot to carry on his shoulders. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I must address too, which I didn't like all during fight week, Deontay Wilder is a family man, and that's no question about it. You know what I mean? Deontay Wilder don't be out there with the Adrian Broners, Javante Davises, Jamel Charlos. Most of the guys from PBC, guys who we do know drink alcohol, whether it's during fights, whether it's not on fights, whether it's guys like was it Jamal Charlo, drinking alcohol at a bar, doing an Instagram live and calling Andrade and all kind of names. So most of those guys, that's what they do. And I'm not saying all, but we don't be seeing Wilder out there like that. He's a family man. He has 8 kids, as he says. He has his wifey. His girl is gorgeous. But one thing about what I didn't like all during fight week was he was always with his lady, arm in arm, holding hands, walking through the MGM hand in hand together. There was even one time after the weigh-in, Deontay Wilder's all laying on his girl like it's on some Netflix and chill stuff. Like how you might be cuddled up with your shorty, you know what I mean? I didn't like that, dogs. Tyson Fury has a wife. He been had Paris in his life. Paris, I was about to say Paris Hilton. Paris Fury, you know what I mean? I didn't see Paris Fury all fight week up until she was seated in her seats at the MGM, front row. You know what I'm saying? You look, man, love is all good, It's a beautiful thing when you're in love. You got your significant other is, the person of your soulmate and whatnot, you know what I mean? But when it's time for war, dogs, like Marvin Hagler with this red hat, man, it's time for war. There's none of that. That's why fellas keep their wifey and their kids. They don't get to see them for 8 weeks in training camp. And especially those guys who have to make weight, unlike the heavyweights, guys having to cut weight and all that. These guys are angry. They're not eating the way they want to. They gotta cut weight. They don't get to see their wife and kids for 2 months. But Deontay Wilder was all in arms, man, hugged up with his boo. You know, I ain't like that one bit, man. I even said told my peoples, man, I ain't like that all week. I didn't like that, because I'm not saying that she's gonna make you soft, but when you're in your lovey-dovey moments, man, you're not in no war moments. Like Marvin Hagler said, man, it's hard to get up and go do your road work in the morning when you're waking up on in silk sheets and silk pajamas and stuff. You know what I mean? My man Marvin Hagler used to run up there in Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard. You know what I'm saying? In the beaches of Massachusetts. You know what I mean? Cold. It's cold up there. You know what I'm saying? Kenny Bunkport, these type of places, that the Obamas might go on vacation. You know what I mean? I think the president of the United States, any which president, they got like a kind of a beach home up there in Kenny Bunkport. So that's where my man Hagler would go and train, wearing army boots, man, running on the beach, doing road work, running in army boots. You still got to keep that hunger. Deontay Wilder wakes up in his Versace robe. And I'm not saying that the man turned soft overnight and stuff. No, the best man won. The best man executed his game plan. The more experienced fighter, the guy who's born to do this, been doing this from a lineage of fighters, travelers, with family who does this from his cousins to his pops to his uncle trainer. They're in the fight game and they prevailed. Peter Fury said he's gonna come in at 270, and that's exactly what he did. And he put the hurting on the man Wilder. You know what I mean? So in the aftermath, Deontay Wilder got a lot of things to rethink. He has 30 days to exercise the rematch clause. I feel what Del Boy's saying. You know what I mean? Maybe fight guys like Kawanaki. I personally think, man, there's nothing else to do when you've reached the pinnacle of heavyweight boxing as far as being a world champion for 5 years, undefeated. Got that undefeated record with the one blemish as a draw. Now he has another blemish, which is a loss. You know, I only gave him one round in that fight. I gave him only 5 rounds of the first fight. You know what I mean? They fought what? What's that? Like, what's that? 12 plus 7. You know what I mean? They fought plenty rounds. You know what I'm saying? About 17 rounds. You know, maybe 18, 19 rounds, and Deontay Wilder was losing most of them. So he might have to rethink whether he wants to take the rematch. Um, but it's going to be hard for Deontay Wilder to get back in position if he doesn't get his straps back. People barely would fight the guy when he was a champion. What's the incentive of fighting a dangerous big puncher like Deontay Wilder when he has no strap? He has nothing to bring to the table. And I think that's what Wilder and them gonna consider. Would Anthony Joshua fight this guy if the man ain't got a strap? I highly doubt it. You know what I'm saying? Undisputed fight with Fury and AJ. I highly doubt seeing that next either. Unless Deontay Wilder decides to forego his uh, um, rematch clause, then the ball is in AJ's court. You know what I mean? Because he has mandatories to fulfill. I'm sure they could write a letter to the IBF or the WBA. I don't think WBA even has mandatories, really and truly. WBO with Usyk, I'm sure they can get an exemption. Eddie Hearn's done it before. He did it for Carl Froch in order for Carl Froch to duck Stevenson. Yeah, um he did it for Errol Spence. I'm sorry, Kell Brook, to get another exemption to put the man Errol Spence in another title eliminator after he beat Algieri. Then he had to beat Bundu, or was it the other way around? Bundu first and Algieri. You know, these guys are guys who have some kind of leverage and they're power brokers in the game. They can talk to these sanctioning bodies as long as they get in they letter to the sanctioning bodies you know, in due time. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's just, it might be a real sensitive letter, but it's something that should happen. Undisputed, man. That's what we want to see. You know what I mean? Like I said, if Wilder doesn't exercise the rematch clause, the ball is in AJ's court. What you gonna do with your mandos? Would you like to fight your mandatories, or would you like to unify for undisputed? Tyson Fury's held every single belt there is to hold in the heavyweight division. The man has two lineal titles, the Ring Magazine. You know, and I'm glad that people got to see it with their eyes now. You know what I'm saying? Who is now the real lineal and Ring Magazine champion? You saw my thumbnail for my post-fight review. I specifically chose that photo to show the man with this Ring Magazine belt and this green belt. You know what I mean? Because the man earned it. All that stuff people was talking about, lineal champion. I made a video showing you guys the man was not the lineal champion no more. And I've been said it before Anthony Joshua lost when he was ranked the number one heavyweight on the planet and Deontay Wilder was number two. I had always said it. The winner of a Wilder and AJ fight at that time would be recognized as the Ring Magazine and lineal champion. Obviously, those plans got derailed by Andy Ruiz last year on June 1st. You know what I'm saying? And while Anthony Joshua got back his titles and he got relegated to third place as far as the third best heavyweight as far as the rankings go. Okay, so the rankings showed that the number one guy was Tyson Fury, and the number two guy was Deontay Wilder. And I said, hey man, the winner of that fight's the Lineal and Ring Magazine champ. A lot of people thought I was blowing hot air. Nah, what I said came to fruition. And if you know boxing, if you've studied boxing, if you've been watching the fight game, you knew exactly what this fight, the significance of Wilder and Fury 2 meant. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? This was a legacy fight with a lot of straps on the line and lineage. The Tyson Fury continues. Two-time lineal champion. We've only had a lineal champion, heavyweight lineal champion in boxing three times, the most ever, and that's Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? Three times. When he beat Liston, when he beat Foreman, and when he beat Leon Spinks in the rematch to become the three-time. Evander Holyfield's the only four-time champion in boxing history, but he ain't no four-time lineal champion. You know what I mean? Of all time, that distinction goes to Muhammad Ali. Okay, where we at in the chat? Hop says even before taking the earshot in the third, it was clearly a Fury round with Deontay not looking good. What do you make of his look looking gassed so early? I don't really think he was gassed early. Um, he was getting outboxed. The first round was a very close round, the only round I gave it to Wilder. But by round two, he was getting caught with them left hands and the straight one twos. The left hand disguised as a jab coming in as a hook. And even some jabs were snapping Wilder head back. And that's when Wilder was now in retreat mode, going backwards, pulling out with his chin up in the sky, not having his right hand protecting his face or holding it up to his head like a telephone with his right hand or left hand, depending on which side the punch is coming or which punch he had just last thrown. When you pumping that jab, you got to pump your jab with his left hand, of course. You got to have your right hand up at all times, you know what I'm saying? Not below your waist, not down hanging by your abdomen or nah. You got to pump that jab like a piston. Pop with your right hand there to protect it for any incoming counter shots, you know what I mean? And while you pump that jab, you bring it back to your face real quick, you know what I'm saying? And you walk your opponent down. Wilder wasn't doing that. From pulling back with his chin up in the sky to having his hands below his head, he made for an easy target for the man, Tyson Fury. And ultimately, that's what maybe probably made him look gassed, you know what I mean? And in all honesty, as a shorter fighter, which which is shorter fighter with the shorter reach, which is Deontay Wilder, he's usually the taller fighter when he fights his opponents with the longer reach. Now it comes down to getting on the inside of the taller guy. And Deontay Wilder wasn't equipped to go on the inside with the man Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? Tyson Fury was landing some body punches while they were in the clinch, and he even landed some nice uppercuts, which I said in my breakdown and prediction video. To me, that's one of Tyson Fury's biggest weapon, especially when he's fighting shorter guys. The uppercut, and yeah, he was catching Wilder with those. Hop says, why did Wilder looking so unprepared for Fury's jab? Kept getting tagged by it from the beginning. No adjustments and really no clear strategy. Questioning his corner. Um, I'm not necessarily going to question his corner. A guy like Mark Breland talks in such a monotone voice, you can't even really hear what he's saying. You know what I mean? Now that it all comes down to muscle memory and fundamentals. You know what I mean? And Fury has the fundamentals. And like I said, the jab coming in, the left hand coming in as a jab or disguised as a left hook, I think confused the man Wilder. You know what I mean? And Wilder was in retreat mode. Wilder's offense was non-existent. And it looks like Deontay Wilder's punch output is decreasing as fights go by. From his last fight with the man Luis Ortiz, the man was barely throwing punches. Caught a lot of them on the gloves. Did get caught with some punches by Luis Ortiz. I had him lose Wilder losing every single round. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. Some of the Wilder fans, and I am a Wilder fan too. Don't get it twisted, man. I wanted Wilder to win that fight. I mean, look at the magnitude of the fight. Look, Wilder was on the verge of stardom yesterday. All he had to do was, especially, win in devastating fashion. You know, and if he did win, you know, that 70s-30 stuff AJ was talking about would be thrown out the window. He might come to the negotiation tables if he did win, talking about 60-40 now in Wilder's favor. You know what I mean? But that's obviously not going to happen. But Deontay Wilder, it looks like the fundamental skills of Fury were just too much for Wilder, and Wilder just wasn't in position to get his thoughts together, especially with blood leaking out of his ear. And it was almost the same similar fight. It was like a similar fight that Anthony Joshua went 7 rounds, got stopped in 7 rounds. You know what I mean? Wilder didn't hit the canvas 4 times. He hit the canvas twice. And after the third round, AJ, just like Wilder, after the third round, Wilder was off his game. You know what I mean? It was downhill, going downhill fast. You know what I mean? Um, okay, where we at in the chat? Blue Collar Sports says, who you got in Du Bois versus Joyce? Dubois versus Joyce, by the way. That's a tough one. That's a 50-50 fight, you know what I'm saying? But, really and truly, I'm kind of leaning towards Joe Joyce, you know. But I'm not sure yet, I think it could go either way, you know what I'm saying? I had Joe Joyce. I do know Joey Joyce has fought the better opponents as a pro. That's just the truth, you know what I mean? From Brian Jennings, Kingpin Johnson's. No, Kingpin Johnson's who the boy fought. Even from he's fought a lot of guys, you know what I mean? Even Bermain Stavern, you know what I'm saying? I had the fight versus Jennings a draw. It's gonna be a great British domestic fight, you know what I mean, with the winner. Be it, it's like Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White when they fought at about 14-0. You know what I'm saying? One person got to lose, and the next person got to work his way up to now world class international heavyweight fights. You know what I mean? Dillian White's never got a world title shot yet. You know, you would think it'd be easy for him to get one, especially if with the with Matchroom Boxing. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't talk about how he declined that fight with a fight with Anthony Joshua last year, an opportunity for 3 world titles. But that's neither here nor there. But I think it's a 50-50 fight, and you best believe I'm gonna do a breakdown prediction video when I watch more film on these guys and and get a clearer picture of who's gonna win that fight. As of right now, I'm on the fence, but I'm slightly leaning towards Joe Joyce. I've been leaning towards Joe Joyce since the fight got announced. Okay, Hops in the chat. He says, I'm not about Wilder walking like a soldier on a march for an hour before his fight. It was like he was passing a sleepless night. Andre Ward questioned it too. Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't get to really hear the commentary, man. You know what I'm saying? I was fixated on the fight, and plus I was watching with a lot of people, and a lot of people were talking. You know what I mean? So, which is fine. The commentary sometimes does sway people's opinions and tries to, you know, they try to make you think this guy's doing this, that, and the third, and he might not be doing, So I didn't get to hear the commentary, you know what I mean? But, ring walk, look, the ring walk is the ring walk. But when you come with an outfit like the man Wilder did, man, came out there looking like a Black Panther transformer, man, you best believe you gotta win that fight, dogs. Tyson Fury came in with an extravagant ring walk as well. You know what I mean? Shades of Prince Nassim, shades of Floyd Mayweather versus Arturo Gotti. You know what I mean? Okay, where we at in the chat? Gangs PP. He says Wilder need a no nonsense coach. I think Mark Brilland is a good coach. He's a good trainer. Haven't seen him work with other guys, but what they've done so far in Wilder's career is, they've had a lot of success. I don't think he needs to change his trainer. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, are there any other better trainers in the fight game right now? Possibly. You know what I'm saying? But Wilder's been with this team for a long time. I don't think he should just change his trainers because he took one loss. You know what I mean? But he does now. Wilder's not getting no younger, and I am concerned about his punch output because there was a round or two in that fight where Wilder didn't land a single punch. Hop says, I thought the first fight with Fury was Wilder's worst outing to that point. This one much worse than that. I think we agree. Absolutely, man. The first fight was definitely the worst I've ever seen Wilder look in a fight. You know what I mean? But this one takes the cake. Absolutely. Gaines PP says, why didn't Golden Boy match up Wilder with Derek Chisora or Tony Thompson when he was a prospect, when he was about 25-0 instead of Kelvin Price or Owen Beck to the world? That's a good point, you know what I mean? But, I was watching Wilder and I wasn't sold on the guys he was beating. Those were guys he was supposed to knock out. I've said it before and I've said it again. I picked Bermane Stiverne to win the heavyweight title, to win the first fight when Wilder became a champion. And my reasons were, Bermane Stiverne was looking good in the two fights with Areola. You know what I mean? I broke that man's nose in the first fight, but in the second fight, if you've watched it went 6 rounds. Stavern was losing for the most part, for most of the fight. Then he caught Areola on the ropes and he knocked him the F out. You know what I mean? So I thought the guy, look, is a guy he's a short, stocky fighter. Yes, Bermane Stavern, the first Haitian champion. When he won that night, it was an emotional night for him when he got the green belt. But I thought that the guy is not gonna be a guy who's gonna topple over like all the other opponents Deontay Wilder fought. You know what I mean? And I thought he's gonna bring the pressure to Deontay Wilder. I had seen Wilder. I've been watching the guy since the Olympics. I've seen the fights of his in his amateurs when he had been dropped by that Russian guy. You know what I mean? So in the back of my mind, I wasn't sold on Wilder. I wasn't even sold on Wilder when he fought Duhaupas and Eric Molina. I didn't like those fights as far as what I saw. Molina rocked Wilder in one particular round, and how Wilder went life and death with Duhaupas. Duhaupas, who does have a chin, but I thought Wilder, especially how he got his eye busted up, I wasn't sold on the guy. When he fought Malik Scott in Puerto Rico, the joint only went one round. I wasn't sure if that was a clean knockdown or I do know they were friends. As you could see, Malik Scott walked Wilder to the ring. He was the first man walking Wilder to the ring. So I don't know if the man took a dive. So I was always on the fence with Wilder. And I've always rooted for the guy, though. You know what I'm saying? The only man in 2008 to win any kind of medal. You know what I mean? A bronze medal. I was always rooting for the guy. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I just thought that the guy, you know what I'm saying, still had a lot of flaws in his game, but in due time he's improving, he's working on his skill set. When I watched the Spilka fight, I think it ended in 10 rounds, and I do know exactly my scorecard. After 9, I had it 5-4 Spilka. I was disappointed with what I was seeing, then he caught him. You know what I'm saying? When he fought Gerald Washington, another fight where he was getting outboxed for the most part, and then he caught him. I was disappointed when a little disappointed when he fought the man Ariola, you know what I'm saying? And not because he fought Ariola. Obviously, the guy Povetkin tested positive for PEDs, so he had to find an opponent, you know what I'm saying? But he did win the fight. He did mess up and break his arm and had third-degree burn, you know what I'm saying? But I was, I was watching him. I was rooting for him, but I wanted better for him. You know what I mean? And I always thought Fury could beat the guy, but when Fury came back to boxing, Wilder was doing the damn thing, and I picked Wilder to win in both fights via KO. So did a lot of people. Like I said, even Deontay Wilder's biggest detractors and haters picked Wilder to win both fights via KO. But ultimately, the best man won. The first fight I had it a draw. That's exactly what I saw, and that's what they called it. But props to Tyson Fury, man. The Gypsy King is a force to be reckoned with. I don't think there's any heavyweight on this planet Earth who could beat this guy. I never thought AJ could beat him, despite Fury coming back. Especially when he came back and got the draw versus Wilder. I just never thought AJ could beat this guy, and until this day, I don't. So if that fight happens, if I'm proved wrong, so be it. You know what I mean? I just think skills pay the bills. And I've always thought that with fighters, you know what I mean? You know, and the skill set that Tyson Fury possesses for dude, he's a mammoth of a man. And we've seen the guy on the canvas, you know what I mean? But it's difficult to knock out a 6'9" dude who's 273, man. You know what I'm saying? I remember when David Hay rocked that big 7-footer, dude who really lost to Holyfield. Holyfield should have been a 5-time world champion that night. What's that tall Russian? Nicholas Valuev. When David Hay rocked that dude and had that dude on spaghetti legs, he ain't put him on the canvas. That was a sight to see. You know what I mean? Because he's a tall dude. You ain't knocking out these big dudes just like that. And it's going to be a tall order for anybody and everybody who gets in the ring thinking that they going to knock out Fury. Alrighty then, where we at? Games PP said he only looked for one big shot or 1-2. Absolutely, that's what Wilder was doing from round one. Telegraphing his punches. You could see him coming a mile away. And really and truly, the man Tyson Fury was not as elusive as I've seen him before in other fights. I think the weight really kind of restricted Tyson Fury's head movement, lateral movement, and him bouncing on his toes. But at the end of the day, he ain't come in there for that bob and weave, stick and move shit. The man came in there to dominate, put pressure, lean on the man, tire him out, and win. You know what I'm saying? Because Wilder was telegraphing those straight right hands when he did throw the punches, and he was catching the man. Sure enough, the man Tyson Fury ate them in the first couple rounds. But Wilder was catching him, you know what I'm saying? But he just didn't have enough time, you know what I mean? Uh, Hop said, I was talking about Wilder's constant back and forth in the dressing room, not the ring walk. Okay. He must have walked the equivalent of 2 or 3 miles. Yeah, man, that was probably nervous energy, man. That's probably nervous energy, you know what I mean? You know, Tyson Fury was dancing and having a jolly old time in the changing room. No, Wilder was doing his stretches. You know, he was doing what he had to do, but he was pacing up and down. Probably nervous energy. Gaines PP said so he could have prepared for Fury. He could have prepared for Fury inside action. He should have been ready for the inside game by all means, at all costs. Especially him being the smaller fighter. Especially him being the fighter that Tyson Fury is the much bigger guy and potentially trying to use his weight advantage. Wilder had to be prepared for the inside game, which was non existent on his part. Against PP said 2020 heavyweight and superweight heavyweight for the American Olympians. 2020 heavyweight and super heavyweights for the American Olympians. So what are you saying? In 2020, America's gonna have a heavyweight and super heavyweight champion in the Olympics. That's what is that what you're saying? Against PP? Let me know. Let me know. But at the end of the day, Tyson Fury handled his business by all means. You know what I mean? By any means necessary. And you know, Emmanuel Stewart told the man he's gonna be a world champion one day, and sure enough, done it twice. I'm happy for a man like Javon Stewart. You know, he was a guy who I really liked the job he was doing with Adonis Stevenson. You know what I mean? They trained for the knockout, and boy, these fellas ain't lying. These guys ain't lying, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Them fellas actually trained for the stoppage or knockout or to not have this fight go the distance, and they prevailed, you know what I'm saying? Sugar Hill was rocking the Ring magazine belt on his waist at the press conference. He has had two champions who've been WBC and Lineal and Ring magazine um, champions. So that's a great accomplishment for the man Sugar Hill Stewart, you know. And I do believe he will have some more um, champions come out the Crunk Gym. The best fighters that they have coming out the Crunk Gym right now, not even American. They're these guys from Uzbekistan. A lot of guys who competed in 2016 Olympics. You know what I mean? Igashev Shonjahan. That's one of his best fighters right now. Pay attention to that name. This guy's the real deal, you know what I mean? Got a lot of fighters from Eastern Europe. Dimitri Salita, you know, the guy who fought Amir Khan, promoter of Clarissa Shields and Big Baby Miller. He's getting a lot of these guys and bringing them to Detroit, you know what I mean? To the Crunk Gym. And Sugar Hill has a good stable right now. And I do believe he will breed more world champions and continue the legacy of my favorite trainer of all time. And to me, in my opinion, the greatest trainer of all time, Emmanuel Stewart. Uh, Gaines PP says, I don't know about those guys. He didn't punch with them. You talking about Wilder didn't punch with Fury? Not at all, man. He was in survival mode. Do you know what I mean? The man was in retreat mode the whole night. Trying to fight off the back foot was non existent because he wasn't even really throwing punches. How many times did Deontay Wilder double or triple up that jab? None. Or set up shots to get on the inside, you know what I mean? None. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's why he ain't knock out Bermain Stavern in the first fight, you know. He fought well behind his jab, you know what I'm saying? Kept his balance right, you know, and wasn't just going for the knockout or telegraphing shots. And I gave him a lot of credit when he beat Bermain Stavern. I didn't think Wilder could box a 12-round fight, especially an immaculate 12-round fight like he beat Stavern in the first fight. I had it 12 rounds to zip. At worst, 11 rounds to 1. But now, when you're facing world class class elite heavyweights who are born to do this, like Tyson Fury. It's a whole different ball game. You know, Deontay Wilder wasn't born to do this. I'm not saying that he wasn't born to do this, like it's not destined for him to be a champion or it's fluke. Nah, nah, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about born into this. Let me rephrase that. Born into this fight game, like Tyson Fury. Neither has Anthony Joshua. He wasn't born into this. And that's why I've always edged Tyson Fury to beat both guys. But I did pick Wilder to win the two fights versus Fury, and that's obviously because of where Tyson Fury was coming from. You know what I mean? The steroid allegations, the cocaine and alcohol binging, ballooning up to 400 pounds, and being out the boxing game for 2.5 years. Yeah, that was like some. Although Floyd Mayweather ain't do all that stuff that this guy did, but Floyd Mayweather took a couple sabbaticals during his after he fought Ricky Hatton, then he came back after almost 2 years to fight the man Juan Manuel Marquez. You know, some people say that was strategic from Mayweather to let all the other welterweights fight and beat each other up, from Manny Pacquiao beating up Cotto or Shane Mosley fighting Cotto on a pay-per-view and Shane Mosley fighting Margarito. Some say that that's what Floyd Mayweather did strategically. Let those guys fight and beat each other up, then come back in the game and face possibly the winner. And he got to fight Cotto, not at 147, but eventually they did fight. And he got to fight Mosley. 9 years overdue, 10 years overdue, excuse me, but eventually it happened. So some may say that was strategic on Floyd's part to recuperate, to heal his hands, be out the fight game for a while, go do some dancing with the stars in WWF, and come back to the game. And looks like this little sabbatical that the man Tyson Fury had 2.5 years out the ring. Now he's world champion again. Now the question is, can he maintain? Will he fall off the edge of sanity like the first time when he won that title in November 2015 in Germany versus Klitschko? Or will he maintain a fighter's lifestyle and try to create himself a legacy? We shall see. But great night of boxing, shocking outcome as far as how the fight ended and what transpired between the rounds 1 through 7. Not a shocker to me by no means as far as Tyson Fury getting the victory. I said it in my breakdown prediction video. It's a 50-50 fight, could go either way. And Tyson Fury, man, he's the new champion. A guy who I do think could become a superstar. A guy who I do think, look, this guy right now, I do believe if he goes into negotiations with Anthony Joshua, I do think he has more leverage. And Tyson Fury is not really loved in England as much as Anthony Joshua. I'm not in England. I'm not on the ground, but this is what I hear from people on these YouTube streets. And obviously from the media in England, how they love Anthony Joshua. And even when Tyson Fury, you know, his, Tyson Fury said some stuff about, you know, different kinds of people and stuff, and these people didn't like that. You know what I mean? Especially talking about the gay people and stuff, and he's not politically correct. You know what I mean? So they don't show him love like that, like they do Anthony Joshua. So in my opinion, if they do have a fight with Anthony Joshua, hey man, Tyson Fury's on a path like Lennox Lewis. There ain't nothing left for him to do in the UK. It's all about USA, Jack. You want to make the big fights with the whole world watching you fighting at prime time rather than 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern, on an app. Tyson Fury should bring Anthony Joshua to Las Vegas. Make that fight happen in Las Vegas. It could be a massive fight in the UK as well, you know what I mean? But you never know. Tyson Fury looks like he's settled in Las Vegas. This is where people love him, have showed him love. He's now the two-time world champion. Will he bring that man to to Las Vegas, or will they fight on a neutral ground? Or will Tyson Fury say, nah, we're not fighting in England? We shall see. Alrighty, where we at in the chat? Against PP, it says, no, Jonathan Downs says, Wilder really did press his punching power, and dude got herbed. What's up, EJ? Boxing Live in the chat. What's up with you, EJ? What's going on, man? It's a sad day for Deontay Wilder, man, and his fans. You saw his wife or his girl and his kids, man, when they was working on Deontay Wilder's ear in the locker room. Man, his girl was on her knees. All his children and everybody was seated on the ground, like on the floor, like Deontay Wilder, a king. Yeah, I'm saying a king who just lost a war or a battle. I'd say it's a battle because ultimately the war should be the trilogy. If the trilogy, what Deontay Wilder does decide to take the rematch, you know what I mean? So I thought that was real humbling for Deontay Wilder and his family. You know what I mean? His kids had a sad face, long face. You know, they never seen their pops get his ass handed to him like that and loses. Sophia's gone, man. That green title's gone, man, from Alabama. It ain't going to Manchester because Tyson Fury is based in the United States. You know what I mean? You know, Tyson Fury. I don't know if he's gonna go to England and get uh, you know, like when fighters from other countries, like when Manny Pacquiao in the 2000s, when he beat guys like Barrero, Morales, man, when he go back to Philippines, man, and this is before Manny Pacquiao became a superstar, but he was a superstar in his country, just like Rungvisai when he beat Chocolatito, man, when he brought them titles back to Thailand, man, they threw him like a kind of presidential parade, you know what I mean? And I'm saying even guys like what's my guy's name from Panama, man, when he used to win, and Selma Moreno, when he was on the pound for pound list, when he go back to Panama, man, they show him love. You know what I'm saying? They throw like a big street parade, and you know what I mean. I don't know if they'll do that for Fury. I don't know. I think he deserves it, but at the end of the day, them titles are not no longer in Alabama. And the pride of Alabama, Deontay Wilder, that must hurt inside. And he got to do a lot of soul searching. Got to do a lot of soul searching. And time will tell if he'll be back in position. EJ says there can only be one. Now that they're two. Yeah, you got two world champions, man, out of England. All the straps are held by Englishmen, you know what I mean? So, that's history right there, you know what I'm saying? That's history right there, you know? Um, Jonathan Downs asks, what happened to his eardrum, though? Anyone know? Man, his eardrum got busted, man. Proliferated eardrum, man. Mike Tyson Razor Ruddock style. You know what I mean? That's what happened, you know what I'm saying? EJ Boxing Live says AJ not beat that Fury. I never ever thought in my mind, I was never had the inclination or the thought process that Anthony Joshua can beat Tyson Fury. That's not happening. If it does happen, I'll be shocked. But I think the guy's skill set is too much for him. You know what I mean? He's just a better fighter. And we do know that Anthony Joshua is also a late bloomer when it comes to the sport. Uh, Tyson Fury was born into this, you know what I mean? Jonathan Down says, Iron Mike was so happy when Fury won. See him celebrating? Actually, absolutely, I did see him. He picked Tyson Fury to win. Tyson Fury's named after Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Tyson Fury has been, on Mike Tyson's podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? So he picked the right man to win. So he was definitely celebrating. You know what I mean? So yes, indeed, man. I'm about to seal the deal on this video. I'm pushing an hour. I didn't even think I was on for that long. In conclusion, man, Deontay Wilder got a lot of soul searching to do. I do think he need to get back in position. Otherwise, nobody's gonna give him a shot. You know what I'm saying? He's a dangerous fighter. And if he ain't got no trinkets, nothing to offer as far as world titles and stuff, I think he's gonna be on the outside looking in. Because on for real, Deontay Wilder was a world champion for 5 years, but still couldn't get the meaningful fights that he wanted up until he got the Luis Ortiz's and or Tyson Fury's. You know what I'm saying? So Deontay Wilder got to go back to the drawing board. Tyson Fury is the man, the greatest fighter of his era as far as heavyweights. You know what I mean? The best heavyweight champion we've had since the man that he beat, Vladimir Klitschko. So props to him, big ups to him and his family. And he's a new champion. Jonathan Down says Fury's the people's champ. EJ Boxing Live says Fury fouled Wilder with behind the head punches. PNC said, "Oh yeah, you know, the commentary, because I watched the fight again, and the fight that I saw, the commentary was the top ranked commentary with Christina Poncher, and I forgot who else was her broadcast teammate, and she was mentioning those punches behind the head. But I don't think that's what won Tyson Fury the fight. You know, the man also landed flush punches to the face. Uh, do I agree that there was, you know, there was some in some close quarters where I remember one particular clinch that they had where Tyson Fury hit him in the back of the head and Deontay Wilder retaliated and hit him too in the back of the head. This was after he got his eardrum busted. But I wouldn't give credit to that for Tyson Fury. For him, that's how he won the fight, man. He beat the man fair and square, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is. But yo, B Marsh Boxing, big ups to Jonathan Downs. He says excuses. Yeah, I ain't making no excuses, man. No excuses for me. People tried to make excuses for AJ, said, oh, he wasn't right. You could see, nah, no excuses, man. The man lost. Wilder lost. Nothing more to it, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Wilder did too much, but not enough with that outfit, you know what I'm saying, that he had. Doing too much, but not enough. And man spent 50 grand on that joint, and he ain't go back home with Sophia. Shout outs to Jonathan Downs, EJ Boxing Live. Salute my guy. Subscribe to EJ Boxing Live channel, one of the best boxing channels here on YouTube, for sure. Big ups to Hop, my man Hop, Games PP. Big ups to everybody in the chat. Blue Collar Sports, Del Boy. Salute to Del Boy. Go subscribe to my guy's channel. Great channel. Dead Game Boxing. Shout outs to all y'all who came through. Leave your thoughts and comments, and I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. I'm gone. Peace.